Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Draftkings Showdown slate for Week 8 Monday Night Football between the Browns and the Bengals. This is, a decent game for Monday night. This one does have a 45 total right now, and the Bengals, are favored by 3. Will be an interesting showdown slate because there are some injuries we'll have to talk about. Jamar Chase is out for this game. David Njoku is out for this game. The pricing on DraftKings is relatively soft. I don't even think DraftKings adjusted the prices for these injuries because we'll talk about some of these guys that are definitely too cheap for this showdown slate. But as always, guys, we're gonna go kind of from top to bottom, talk about all the playable options, all the guys that I do have interest in. But before we do get started with the video, make sure you guys hit that like button down below if you do enjoy these showdown videos. If they do help you out, hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. Also, check out the sponsor of this video, Prize Picks. So Prize Picks, they are a player prop based DFS site. Very simple, very easy to use. You're just taking more or less on a player's projection. Obviously, they do have stuff up already for Monday Night Football that you can take a look at. They have some fantasy score props up. They have your traditional player props, so like passing yards for the quarterbacks, rushing yards, receiving yards as well. A ton of props available on Prize Picks. So take a look at all their props, see what stands out to you. If you find anything that you like, you have to make at least 2 picks, but you can make up to 5 picks, and you can win up to 10 extra money on Prize Picks. You can also mix and match sports. So if you like to look at other sports, NBA, college football, MLB, you can do multi-sport entries where you have multiple picks from different sports. It's a lot of fun. You guys definitely need to be playing over there. If you're not on Prize Picks yet, sign up, use code NOAH. You will get your first deposit matched up to $100 when you do sign up with my promo code. And I don't know yet if I'm going to have a video or not for this NFL game. It'll depend on if I can find some props that I like. But if I do find at least 2 picks I like for this game, I will have a separate video posted talking through some player props I like for Monday Night Football. If you guys want to tell some plays that I'll be running. But yeah, let's talk through this showdown slate. We'll start off at the top of the player pool. We got Joe Burrow as our most expensive option. He is 11,400. I think clearly Joe Burrow is probably the top overall just projected play on this slate in terms of floor and ceiling. I mean, we've seen the Bengals really up their pass rate the last few weeks. 42 pass attempts last week for Burrow, even in a game they won by over 2 touchdowns. 37 pass attempts, 35 pass attempts. Now, without Jamar Chase, do they scale back their pass rate? It's possible. They could definitely go a little bit more run heavy. But Joe Burrow is a guy that does have plenty of weapons still. Even without Jamar Chase, he still has T. Higgins. He still has Tyler Boyd. He still has Joe Mixon out of the backfield. Hayden Hurst has been playing well this season. I mean, Burrow's a top option here. Would I be playing Joe Burrow at captain? I don't think so. I think I'd be more likely to play his receivers at captain. But if Joe Burrow has a game where he throws for like 3 or 4 touchdowns and all the touchdowns go to different receivers, then he could be the optimal captain at that point. But if he throws 3 touchdowns and 2 of them go to T. Higgins, then you're probably going to want T. Higgins at captain. So I probably won't be using Joe Burrow at captain, but I think he's a very safe play on this slate. I think he's a very high floor play. If you're playing cash games, I think you definitely want to play Joe Burrow in cash games. And in tournaments, I would still be playing plenty of Joe Burrow here. Just don't know if I would be using him a ton in the captain spot. Then you have Nick Chubb at 10,400. Nick Chubb, I mean, he's just been amazing this season. He's been really, really efficient on the ground. He's been one of the most efficient running backs since he came into the league. He's averaging 5 yards per carry this season, maybe even better than that. He's just a guy that's really tough to tackle. He just always seems to break off long runs. The issue with Nick Chubb is that in order for him to really be a guy that you have to roster, he's going to have to get into the end zone because he doesn't catch many passes. I mean, you look at his pass game usage. At most, he's getting like 2 or 3 targets. Unless he runs for like 180 yards, he's not going to put up like over 20 DraftKings points without scoring a touchdown. You look at all these games where he's had 20 DK points, multiple touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, 1, 1, 1, 2. The week where he did not score a touchdown, 8 DraftKings points. So that's kind of the thing with Nick Chubb. He's got to get into the end zone to really be worth rostering at 10,400. Now, Nick Chubb is locked into a pretty much, he's pretty much their goal line back. If they get in any goal line situations, Chubb usually is going to be the guy punching it in. I know anytime the Browns get near the goal line, they're almost always going to be running the ball. So Chubb does have a very high chance to score a touchdown, but I still don't think he's going to be someone that I prioritize paying up for. I'd rather get up to Burrow. I'd rather go down to some of these other running backs. Like Joe Mixon, he might not be as good of a runner as Nick Chubb, but he's going to get a really big workload on the ground and through the air. That is one positive with Mixon is that he's going to get some good pass game usage. You look at his targets lately, 7, 4, 3, 6, 3. Again, like without Jamar Chase, we might see the Bengals go a little bit more run heavy. Now Mixon, like on the ground, he's not been very efficient as a runner, and I don't think this is like the best matchup. But I do believe that Cleveland actually has been worse against the run this season than previous seasons. I want to pull this up just to confirm. So yeah, so far this season, Cleveland's allowing over 800 yards to opposing running backs. That is sixth most in the league in terms of fantasy points allowed to the running back position. They're giving up the fourth most fantasy points. I know the Browns have historically been good against the run, but actually this season they've been a lot worse. So like I don't think the matchup's that bad for Joe Mixon. He's going to get the volume, and I think at 9,400 that makes him a very safe play on this slate. You probably get a bigger ceiling from Chubb. Excuse me. I think Chubb's a lot more likely to run for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. But if you want floor, I think Mixon probably offers the better floor. So between those two guys, it's really tough. I would probably lean Mixon, especially just because Mixon's locked into a bigger snap share. He's probably going to get more touches. But I think both obviously both Mixon and Chubb are in play here. Then you have Jacoby Brissett at 9,200. Brissett for fantasy this season has not really shown much upside. He doesn't have a single game over 18 Draftkings points. Still, though, it's a one-game showdown slate. Anytime, quarterbacks are almost always going to be viable on showdown slates. I don't think Brissett is going to be someone that I force into my lineups tonight. I would definitely be fine. If I'm playing one lineup on this showdown slate, I would be totally fine not playing Brissett. I don't think he's a must. I think there's guys priced around him that have way more upside. But Jacoby Brissett is probably going to give you at least like 10 to 12 DraftKings points. So the floor is there, at least for this showdown slate. But definitely when you look at guys like Mixon, we're going to talk about Higgins and Tyler Boyd. You got Chubb priced a little bit more. I'd rather go to those guys. So like I really don't think Brissett's that great of an option here. He's not really going to be someone that I prioritize. T. Higgins though at 8K is definitely one of these guys that's just too cheap. We should expect him to have a pretty massive target share here without Jamar Chase. Higgins has already been a guy that's seen a good amount of volume this season, and now without Jamar Chase, you would expect Joe Burrow to really be targeting Higgins here. The 8K price tag is just too cheap. Like I don't think DraftKings adjusted his price for Chase being out. Higgins should be priced up there with Joe Burrow. $8,000 is just way too cheap. He's going to be really popular, I would assume, but Higgins is a really good play. The price tag just doesn't make much sense. And then Tyler Boyd, his price tag didn't really move either, 6,400. He's too cheap here. He should see more volume without Chase. I expect Burrow to just really, really lean on, Boyd and Higgins. I think those are going to be the guys that we expect to get most of the volume. I wouldn't be surprised if you get double-digit targets for both Boyd and Higgins. So at 6,400, I think Tyler Boyd is in line to see more volume. He's way too cheap. He looks like a great play as well. And then sandwiched in between then, you got Amari Cooper at 7,600. Even though Jacoby Brissett has not really been that great for fantasy this season, Amari Cooper's still been getting it done. He started off the season pretty bad. He had that disappointing game week 1 against Carolina, but ever since then, he's had some really big games. He's had multiple games over 100 receiving yards. He's gotten to the end zone 2 out of their last 3 games. He's been their number 1 target, and it's not really even that close. He's averaging, I don't even know how many targets per game he's averaging. I think around double-digit targets per game, close to that. The volume's been there for Amari Cooper. I think his ownership is going to be much lower than Boyd and Higgins. So in GPPs, it does make a lot of sense to go to Amari Cooper. I still think straight up, Higgins is a better play. For the savings, I think Boyd's a better play. But can Amari Cooper outscore those guys? He absolutely can. I'm not as confident in Jacoby Brissett. Obviously the quarterback play for Cincinnati is way better than it is for Cleveland. But Cooper's getting the volume. He could get double-digit targets here. He's not out of play for me. I think he's more of a GPP option. In cash games, I would definitely be rostering those Cincinnati receivers over Amari Cooper. And then if we're looking for value on this showdown slate, we actually have some value. So Kareem Hunt's only 5,600. Kareem Hunt is not a guy that I really ever roster on the main slate, but for a one-game showdown slate, he's going to be in play. Kareem Hunt, there have been reports of him, possibly getting traded soon, which I guess is a little worrisome. Like, do the Browns scale back his workload to try and keep him healthy in case they don't want him to get injured, obviously, if they're going to try and trade him. So that's something that I guess is a minor concern. But we also saw the Saints say that Alvin Kamara is on the trade block and Kamara got a full workload. So I don't know if it's something we can really predict. Honestly, we should expect pretty much a 50-50 split between Chubb and Hunt. Maybe 55-45 favoring Chubb. So far this season, though, when you look at snap share for Kareem Hunt, he's been playing about 40 to 50% of snaps most weeks. He's played at least 43% of the snaps in all their games this season. Right now, the Bengals are favored by 3 in this game. If this winds up being a game script where the Browns are playing from behind, That obviously is much more favorable to Kareem Hunt than it is to Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb's basically non-existent in the pass game, whereas Kareem Hunt, they will involve in the pass game a lot. So if you want to play a game script scenario where like the Bengals get a big lead and the Browns are playing from behind, then Kareem Hunt's really going to thrive in that type of scenario. But regardless, he should be locked into probably at least like 7 to 8 touches minimum. I know his touches have been down the last few weeks, but normally he's good to get like close to double-digit carries. Usually going to get at least a couple targets as well. I think Kareem Hunt's firmly in play at 5,600. I have no issue going there for value. I think Hayden Hurst is a really good value. He's been the clear number one tight end for the Bengals this season. Been playing on a good amount of the snaps last few weeks, 81%, 70%, 62% of the snaps. He's been getting some targets as well. Now without Jamar Chase, there's going to be a lot of volume available for everyone, and I expect Hayden Hurst to be a guy that does get a boost in target share here. At 5,200, I think Hayden Hurst is firmly in play for value on the slate. Even Donovan Peoples-Jones, he's not a guy that I really ever roster on a main slate, but again, we're talking about one game here. Donovan Peoples-Jones, he's been the clear, number one, number two wide receiver for the Browns. It's basically been Amari Cooper and DPJ running all their routes on the outside. Last few weeks, 93% of the stats for DPJ, 87%, 88%. He's going to be out there for almost every single snap. He's going to be running routes. He hasn't demanded nearly the same amount of targets as Amari Cooper has, but he's also only 5K. So I think if we're looking for a value receiver that does at least have some upside, we at least know that DPJ is going to be on the field, and I think that's what we can really bank on here. So yeah, 5K, I think Donovan Peoples-Jones is firmly in play as a value. Now, Samaje Perine, I'm not really interested in. He's just going to be like the backup to Joe Mixon. He'll probably get like 4 or 5 touches at most. He's just too expensive at 4,800 to even consider. The kickers, I think, are fine values. On this slate, though, we do have some better value. Like, I would rather get up to Kareem Hunt, Hayden Hurst, DPJ than I would the kickers. I just think those guys offer more upside, and they're not that much more expensive. But the kickers are usually safe to give you 6, 8, 10 points, and I think that's fine on this slate. But even a guy like Harrison Bryant I want to talk about for value. So he's only 4K. He's going to step in as the number one tight end for the Browns. They're going to be without David Njoku for this game. The Browns, they do run a lot of two tight end sets, and they've kind of been playing they've been playing Bryant and Njoku together on the field a lot. Like last week, 62% of the snaps for Njoku, 57% for Bryant. I think now we can expect Harrison Bryant to be close to an every down tight end. His targets have not been like amazing this season, but obviously he's been splitting time with Njoku. Now as the number one tight end for the Browns, I think we're going to see Harrison Bryant play on 70, 80% of the snaps, probably get 4 to 5 targets, and he's only 4K. So I definitely think Harrison Bryant looks like a pretty good value on the slate. He is someone that I do have some interest in. And then I want to talk about these Bengals receivers. If we're looking for cheap options, we do have some cheap options from Cincinnati. So without Jamar Chase, obviously we expect T. Higgins to be pretty much an every down wide receiver. Tyler Boyd, he normally plays out of the slot. I don't know if they're going to move him to the outside here, if they're just going to keep him in the slot. But regardless, I think there's going to be more playing time for multiple guys, and I think Mike Thomas is going to be the guy that probably sees the boost in playing time. So I do want to mention that back in Week 5, when T. Higgins got injured, I think it was a Sunday night game against the Ravens. T. Higgins only played 10 snaps before getting injured. Mike Thomas played on 71% of the snaps in that game. So my best guess is that Mike Thomas is going to be the guy that sees more snaps with with Jamar Chase out. He did get 3 targets in that game. He had 1 catch for 33 yards. We can't expect Mike Thomas to go out there and get 12 targets. Like, that's just not going to happen. But at his price tag of $1,200, he's going to play 70, 80% of the snaps. He'll probably see at least 3 to 4 targets. He is probably one of the better punt value plays. If you're looking for a really cheap value, he's the best option in my opinion. I think he's going to be a guy that sees a big boost in playing time here. He's going to be on the field more. Is he going to get a ton of targets? I guess that's to be determined, but he's at least going to be on the field a lot, and that's what we really want to bank on at this salary. So at $1,200, I think Mike Thomas is in play. You also might see more playing time for Trent Taylor. Now, Trent Taylor has not really done anything this season. He's barely been targeted, but last week he played on 19% of the snaps. Obviously, without Chase, there's going to be more playing time available for everyone, so maybe Trent Taylor plays some more. He might only play on like 4 wide receiver sets, but at $200, he's the stone minimum. Like, if he gets a couple catches, that might be all that he needs to really be worth rostering. So if you're going to take a shot on some cheap options down here, I think Mike Thomas and Trent Taylor look like the 2 best cheap values. I think Mike Thomas at $1,200 is definitely like the best overall punt value play. I'm expecting him to step in and play more snaps without Jamar Chase. But yeah, that's probably it for this Showdown slate. You know, there's a couple guys down here I didn't really mention, but like guys like David Bell, I mean, he's barely been targeted this season. He's not really someone I'm rostering. I mean, these are just like dart throws. Again, if you're looking for cheap punt plays, you're going to be looking to those Cincinnati receivers. So yeah, that's it for this Showdown slate, guys. I think we kind of talked about everything, all the guys that I do have interest in. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, I hope it helped. Hit that like button if you did enjoy. Hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. If you do enjoy all the content I provide on YouTube, I do give out more content over on Patreon. I will have a player pool and core plays posted on Patreon for this Showdown slate. So if you want my player pool of my top plays, if you want my core plays for the Showdown slate, those are provided on Patreon. I give out player pool and core plays for the Showdown slates for Monday night, Thursday night. I give a player pool and core plays for the full Sunday slate. Also, I do player pools and core plays for NBA Monday through Friday. I post NBA DFS content on Patreon. Do post PrizePicks plays over there as well. Again, if you're not if you're not on PrizePicks yet, get over there, sign up, use code NOAH. You will get your first deposit matched up to $100. Definitely check out PrizePicks, see all the player props they have for this Monday night game. Again, don't know yet if I'm going to have some picks for this game yet. It'll all depend on if I can find some plays that I like. But if I do find some picks I like, I will share those in a separate YouTube video that I will probably post later tonight on Sunday night. So check out the channel late Sunday night, see if there's a PrizePicks video for this NFL game. But yeah, best of luck on this Showdown slate, guys. Thanks as always for watching the videos, for supporting the content. Hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you in the next one.